stop. Just stop. Let everything wait, because it will. The world won't fall apart if you take a breath, but you might if you don't. Be honest. How long have you been running on fumes, pretending you're fine? You push through the exhaustion, ignore the heaviness in your chest, and tell yourself you'll rest later. But later never comes, because there's always someone who needs you, always another demand, always a reason to put yourself last. But at what cost? When was the last time you felt alive? Not just functioning, not just surviving, but whole. When did you last wake up without that tired, worn-out feeling deep in your soul? This is not the life God designed for you. He never meant for you to be exhausted, depleted, and forgotten in your own story. He didn't create you to be a machine, constantly running but never refueling, breaking down while you convince yourself that's just how life is. Listen, choosing to take care of yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. You can't pour into others if you're empty. You can't keep pushing forward if there's nothing left in you to give. And if you think your strength is measured by how much you endure, you've believed a lie. Breathe right now. Deep. Feel that? That's proof you're still here. Proof that you were made for more than just getting through the day. Now exhale. Let go of the weight that's been crushing you. The guilt, the pressure, the impossible standards. Because today you don't have to carry it all. Today you step into something better. You step into life. Now listen, really listen. You are not valuable because of how much you do. You are not worthy because of how much you endure. God calls you worthy simply because you are. His love for you isn't based on performance. It's not measured by how much you give, how much you sacrifice, or how well you hold it all together. His love doesn't come with conditions. His care doesn't have a limit, and neither should yours. So what if, just for today, you chose yourself? Not in a selfish way, but in the way that says, I am God's child too. My heart matters too. What if you stopped treating rest like a luxury and started seeing it as what it really is, a necessity? What if you finally let yourself believe that you deserve to be whole, not just for everyone else's sake, but for your own? Imagine how much stronger you'd be if you weren't constantly running on empty. Imagine how much more you could give if your own soul was full instead of always running dry. A heart that is whole gives from abundance, not exhaustion. A spirit that is restored loves without resentment. A life that is aligned with God's truth doesn't just survive, it thrives. This is your moment, not to be an afterthought, not to be the last priority on your own list, not to keep putting off your own healing, hoping one day you'll have time for it. Now is the time to stop, to breathe, to realign your heart with the truth that you are seen, you are loved, and you are just as worthy of care as the people you care for. No more running on fumes. No more convincing yourself that exhaustion is normal. No more believing that barely getting by is all God has for you. It's time to step into the life He actually designed for you, one of peace, fullness, and strength. Because you were never meant to just make it through the day. You were meant to live. Look at your life right now. How much time have you spent questioning your worth? How often have you held back, afraid you weren't enough, afraid you didn't belong? How many moments have you wasted trying to fit into places that were never meant for you? You weren't created to live in the background, constantly seeking approval, constantly wondering if you measure up. That was never God's plan for you. What would happen if you finally let go of the doubt? If you stopped carrying the weight of insecurity like it was part of you? Picture waking up and knowing without hesitation that you are enough, not because someone told you, not because you're trying to convince yourself, but because it's rooted so deeply in you that nothing can shake it. Imagine standing tall, no longer swayed by opinions, no longer shrinking when you're meant to stand firm. Feel the shift. When you stop living for the approval of others, your soul breathes. Your mind is clearer, your heart is lighter, and suddenly, peace takes the place of anxiety. That's what happens when you stop trying to be what the world expects and start being who God created you to be. God didn't form you with love and purpose just so you could spend your life doubting yourself. He didn't design you to live small, to silence your own voice, to constantly wonder if you matter. He made you intentionally, with gifts only you can bring, with a purpose only you can fulfill. The question is, will you finally believe it? And when you finally step into that truth, everything starts to change. The right people show up, not the ones who drain you, not the ones who only stick around when you fit their expectations, but the ones who see you, who value you, who love you for who you truly are. Real connection, real friendships, real love follow when you stop chasing approval and start living in the confidence of who God created you to be. But here's the part no one can do for you. You have to choose it. You have to decide that you are done carrying burdens God never placed on you. You have to stop speaking words over yourself that don't align with His truth. No more playing small, no more waiting for permission, no more letting fear dictate your worth. So right now, make the choice, not tomorrow, not when you feel more ready. Now let this truth sink in. I am worthy, I am loved, I am enough. Say it, not as a whisper, not as a question, but as a declaration. Say it until the lies lose their power. Say it until the doubt that has held you back begins to crumble. Say it like your future depends on it, because it does. And as you do, take a breath, let the weight start to lift, because something inside you is shifting. And this time, you're not holding yourself back. This time, you're stepping into everything God has been calling you to all along. All right, my friend, before you move from this moment, take a breath, not just to fill your lungs, but to remind yourself that you're here, that you are still standing, still held, still seen by God. Feel the weight of your own body pressing into the ground, proof that you are steady, that you have not been undone by what you've carried. Listen, really listen. The world hasn't stopped. Life is still moving. Maybe you hear a distant sound, a quiet breath, the faint stir of the air around you. Let it remind you that you are part of something bigger, that your story is not finished. Now take another breath deeper this time. Pull in the love of God, not as a distant idea, but as something real, something fierce, something that has been holding you together even when you didn't know it. Let it sink into the places that feel empty. Let it push out the fear, the doubt, the weight of everything you've tried to carry on your own. And as you breathe out, let go of what is choking the life out of you, the shame that clings to you, the exhaustion of trying to be strong all the time. The belief that you have to fix everything, hold everything, be everything. Let it fall from your shoulders, because God never asked you to bear it. Now open your eyes, not just to the room around you, but to the life still ahead of you, to the road you thought was closed, to the hope you thought was gone. You are not leaving this moment the same way you entered it. You are walking forward not as someone barely making it, not as someone who is too broken to keep going, but as someone renewed, restored, and ready, because you do not walk alone. I hope something deep inside you has awakened, that the weight you didn't even realize you were carrying has lifted. This peace, this clarity, it isn't just a passing moment. It isn't something that fades when life pulls at you again. This is truth, the truth of who you are, the truth of who God has always known you to be. And hear me, if you don't step into that truth, if you keep waiting for permission, for certainty, for the approval of people who do not hold your future in their hands, you will wake up one day realizing you have spent your life living someone else's story, following a path that was never meant to be yours, but that is not why you are here. This life, your life, is not an accident. It is not a series of circumstances pushing you wherever the wind blows. It is a gift, one that has been entrusted to you alone, and it was never meant to be lived in fear, in hesitation, in the small, safe places where nothing ever changes. God did not breathe life into you so you could disappear into the background, so you could shrink yourself down to fit inside someone else's expectations. So today, and every day after, choose to believe in what He has put inside you. Choose to step into the life He has laid before you, even if your knees shake, even if the way forward is not yet clear. Choose to stop living small. Stop waiting for someone else to tell you it's time. Stop holding back what was meant to shine. Walk forward, not just because you can, but because you were made to. That first step might feel uncertain. It might feel like too much, like you don't know where to begin, but listen, God never called you to figure it all out before you move. He simply asks you to trust Him, to take the step, to believe even when it feels like you're stepping into the unknown. And when you do, you will find that He has already gone before you, that the ground beneath you is steadier than you thought, that the weight you've carried for so long does not define you. This is your moment, not just to think about change, not just to long for it, but to step into it, to leave behind the exhaustion, the fear, the constant striving, and finally embrace the truth that has been waiting for you all along. You are seen, you are loved, you are enough, not because of what you do, but because of who you are in Him. So take a breath, deep and full. Let it be your reminder that you are alive, that you are held, that God has more for you than just making it through. And as you breathe out, let go of the doubt, of the fear, of everything that has kept you from stepping into the fullness of His love. Now, before you move from this moment, let's pray. Let's turn our hearts toward the one who has been calling us back to life. Because this journey, this new way of living, doesn't begin with more striving. It begins with surrender. Lord, for so long I have run, rushing from one thing to the next, carrying what was never mine to hold, pushing past exhaustion, as if stopping would mean failing, as if slowing down would make me less worthy. I have poured out everything, convinced that strength meant never wavering, that love meant giving until there was nothing left, that my worth was something I had to earn. But you never asked this of me. You never meant for me to live on empty, to stretch myself thin trying to be everything for everyone. You never called me to shrink under the weight of expectations or to prove myself through relentless striving. You called me to live, to breathe, to rest in the truth that I am yours, not because of what I do, not because of how much I sacrifice, but because you formed me, named me, and called me beloved before I ever took a single step. Lord, break the chains of every lie that has held me captive, the ones that whisper that I must always keep going, that rest is weakness, that my value is measured by how much I can endure before I collapse. Teach me your way, the way of grace, where peace is not something I must earn and love is not something I must fight for. Show me what it means to be whole, not just surviving, but fully alive in you. I release the weight I was never meant to carry, my own expectations, the world's, the ones I mistook for yours. I let go of the fear that I am falling behind, that I am disappointing, that I am not enough. I surrender this endless striving, this habit of running on empty, and instead take hold of what you have already spoken over me, that I am enough in you, that I don't have to push until I break, that I don't have to prove what you have already declared. I am loved, I am seen, I am held. Fill me again, Lord, not just so I can keep giving, but so I can truly live. Let me move from a place of fullness, not depletion. Let me love from abundance, not exhaustion. Let me step forward not as someone barely holding on, but as someone who knows she was never meant to merely exist. She was meant to flourish. So today, I stop. I breathe. I receive. No more waiting for permission. No more delaying my own healing. No more believing that everyone else's needs matter more than the soul you placed within me. I choose the life you have designed for me, a life not of endless striving, but of deep trust, deep joy, and deep rest in you. And I will walk forward, not in fear, but in faith, held by the one who never meant for me to run myself dry. Amen.